Joey, you got to make a choice. You either want to be a villain or you want to be a fighter. Which you want to be? I want to be a villain, Dad. And it wasn't crime. It was just survival. What option are you giving a man? If a man comes looking for you with a gun, by the time it went to court, all the witnesses had changed their mind.
So you're left there with a dead body beside you for days? I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Gold Seal. I use their products every single day, and now I finally get to work with them. I use their products for anti-inflammatory, reduced anxiety, better sleep, and mental clarity. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description, along with a 10% discount code for you to take advantage of. Go and have a look at their website, see if there's anything in there for you. I hope you enjoy this week's episode, and good health. Joe.
How are you?
Good to see you.
And you, mate.
And thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
You were one of the top people on the list when I started the podcast that I wanted to pick their brain, find out more about their life. Because as this goes on, people will, if they don't know already, they will do that. We've got a fair few things in common. And before we go back to the start of your life journey, I just want to talk about your dad, Joe Pyle. One of the most, in my opinion, notorious gangsters the country has ever seen and also ever will see, because that era of man, in my opinion, is now gone, never ever to return. There's no code, there's no value anymore. It's all gone, that old school mindset. But your dad wasn't just a gangster, and I'll let you describe your dad, because you may describe him, well, you saw him, he was your dad. He was a businessman. He was a grandfather. He was very different to what a lot of people will see or read about him. So before we get going, just describe your dad for me.
He was a good father. Good father. I idolised my father. Looked up to my dad all them years, always did. To me, it's funny because, you do see this persona of him, and a lot of people talk about him, but to me, he was my dad. I've seen him happy, I've seen him sad, I've seen him fearful, if I can say that. I've seen him worried. Most of the people that knew my dad, they just see this larger than life character in a bar, But to me, he was my dad. And a lot of times, like sons and dads do, we had difference of opinion. Sometimes we'd have arguments over silly things and wouldn't talk to each other for a week or 2 weeks, And, my Uncle Ted would come in as a mediator and go like, why don't you two get together, But my dad had may I say, a rare trait. He had a lot of empathy with people. He was his own man. You couldn't influence my dad. It doesn't matter who was standing in front of him. You get a lot of guys, in the pub, they make small talk. So you heard about this guy, you heard about that guy. My dad was like, wouldn't insult someone, but he'd go like, okay, but I'll make my own mind up. I know the guy, I'll make my own mind up about the guy. I'm over 21. He didn't run with the crowd in that fashion, if you know what I mean. He wouldn't do what was fashionable. He'd do something. He used to say to me, you go with the grain of the wood. And what he meant by that is you stay the path. You got your morals, you got your principles, and and you don't falter from that path. You stay on that path. And in my life as well, and his life, it both caused us a lot of pain over the years. We lost good friends, lost good people, because we stayed true to our ways, if you like clannish ways. My family's like a clannish way. He was a tough when he needed to be. He loved people. It's fantastic when I hear his friends and his friends say, how much they loved him. And that's, and it's not down to being a big feared gangster or nothing like that, because people don't love big gangsters, tough gangsters. They won't make out they love them, but they don't love them, they fear them. There's a big difference. A big difference of respecting someone and holding someone as a friend. And that's what I see a lot of times with his friends. I can see the love they actually had with him, because over them years, he would have been that person if they was in trouble. They know they could go to him, and he'd give them what he thinks is the best advice. He was someone. If I hadn't been his son, he was someone that I would have been very proud to say I was a friend of his. To be in his company and listen to his wisdom. That might be the word. I'd say he had a lot of wisdom, my dad did. He, one of the old things he always said, like, a still tongue keeps a wise head. He learnt a lot in the days of the 60s. He used to tell me stories of when George Raft came over and the Mafia guys, Marlansky and all that, and he used to sit there and pick their brains. He was only a young kid then in the 60s. Well, he was a young man. But, they used to say things to him and, Joey, this is what you got to do. And, he used to, some of the advice was great. Some of it was quite bad. There was one guy, famous mobster, when he come over, they was doing a casino. I think it was the Olympic Club. And he said, Joe, it's always better to have cash around you. He said, and, guys saying, well, they're getting money and they're putting it into property. And the guy was like, no, you don't buy property. Don't buy cash is always king. You can't take a brick out of the wall and eat it when you get skinned. So the old man always thought that, all his mates were buying property, and 20 years later, they were all multi-millionaires because all the properties were sure. When the money he was fighting with, he put it in, bought a multi-story car park, a bit of land, and 20 years later, it's worth £1 million. And, so that was probably might have been a bit of bad advice for the old man listened to, but he was a young man then, he did have a couple of houses in the end of the day. But, I was proud of my father. I'd always be proud of him.
Of all the people I've spoke to, all the villains, all people that aren't villains, just people that knew your dad, and it's safe to say that I know a fair few people that did know your dad, and also people that didn't know your dad but know people that did know your dad. I'm yet to hear one person say a bad word about your dad, and I would say of all the names that pop up of the notorious villains over the years, and men, I think your dad gets the most respect I've heard, more so than the Krays, the Richardsons, the other household names out there. There's something about Joe Pyle that carried a lot of weight and respect. Now, why do you think that is? Not from a son's perspective, just from...
It's quite an easy one, really. He weren't a liberty taker. He treated every man fair, which he should do. Some of the names you named and stuff like that. I've never known the old man to take a liberty with people. Never. If someone was going to get a right hand, he deserved it. But I never heard the old man slag people off. I can't actually think now, all them years and, getting drunk with each other on a Friday night, me, Uncle Ted, Uncle Dan and all the crowd. And I can never remember hearing the old man bad-mouthing someone. Never stand there going, and this and that, and he was just fair. He was fair. I've seen him give people chances, when he's injured himself, because he don't want to believe that person could do them things. But, I don't really know where it came from with the old man, because I've been around a lot of his friends, and a couple of them might have had it. But the old man never, it didn't seem that he had to prove anything to anyone. Some people walk about and they think they've got to prove something to people, they've got to be a certain way. The old man was just natural. What you saw is what you got with him.
Was he a fighter in his younger years?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
boxing background?
Boxing background, professional boxer. Funny story with when he was a pro fighter, and they come out of Islam originally, the Angel in Islam. And so, like, during the war days, they moved down to Carshalton. So all Islam, King's Cross, all around that way was all bombed. Everything was destroyed. And they was building these new houses down in Carshalton for people who have lost their houses during the war. He moved down there, and then he had his own little friends in Carshalton. He had his own little friends up in where he grew up with, in like round the Cross, King's Cross, and the Angel down there, Caledonian Road, Cali. That's where he used to live. And so he's going. He's boxing amateur. He's doing well. I think he nearly went in national service. I think it was national service. He went in. He was the army champion, middleweight army champion of Britain. He turned pro, but then he's hanging about with his mates, and they're out screwing warehouses all night. Like putting jelly around the safes. And my uncle Len, he was the first ever guy to use jelly night on a safe in London. So he was a safe man. So he's going there, and then he's coming to a fight the next day, and he's been up all night, and he's literally going to the weigh-in, and they're standing at the weigh-in, and he's got like £2,000 in notes on him, and he's taking them out of his pockets, asking his trainer, "Look at these." And then one day he's gone into a fight, and this guy, he should have beaten the guy, and the guy's basically pushing him all around the ring. My dad's knackered, been up all night, and all his mates are sitting at ringside. I mean, Ronnie Kray was there, and a few of them at ringside, and they're all taking the mick out of him because they know he's knackered. He's been up all night on screwing a warehouse, and
he's been up all night at work.
Yeah, and they're all laughing like that. And the old man's, he's hit the floor. He's got on the floor, and he's got up. He's looking at him like that. He's going, and he's got in the changing room. And my granddad walked to him and went, "Joey, you got to make a choice. You can't be both. You either want to be a villain or you want to be a fighter. Which do you want to be?" And my dad went to him, "I want to be a villain, Dad." And that was it. It was a bit tough. There was so much money they was getting them days. So, and that's what stopped him really. But also as well, I think it was in that fight or his last fight, he pierced his eardrum, which is a bad injury for a boxer.
And how did your dad segue into crime?
You got to remember, like, they grew up, my dad being dragged over bomb sites during the Blitz. When he's like 5, 6 years of age, my nan's grabbing him, the sirens are going off, and they're grabbing hold of him, and they're running down to Angel tube station at night. And all night long was boom, boom, bombs are going off. And they're coming up in the morning, everywhere's destroyed. And it wasn't crime, it was just survival. It wasn't, they weren't, it was just, you're going out, doing bits and bobs here, you might go and nick a bit of scrap metal off a roof, or you might do this, or you might do that. It was all petty stuff to begin with. The same as like when we're kids, you go nicking out cars, didn't you, and silly stuff like that. You go to a sweet shop and grab a few polo mints, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it got bigger, screwing warehouses then turns into, you meeting different people, and then, you've done the Borstal thing, then you meet other people, and then it just evolves into armed robberies and racketeering, if you like. My dad was, because he was with the Nashes, he had his friends the Nashes we grew up with out the Angel, 6 brothers, I believe they was, 6 brothers, and they were feared a lot more than what the twins were before the twins come along. They was before that era with Jack Spot, Billy Hill, then you had the Nashes, and then after the Penn Club murder, Nashes fizzled out a little bit, and then the Krays come to prominence. So you're around them people anyway. You're around them people. You're getting ideas. People coming in. Oh, this is happening, and the protection rackets, a lot of people think most of the protection rackets was, going to a shop, you owe me money. A little bit of that did go on, but not with my dad. Their way was you got invited. People had a bar, they had a thing, they had trouble there. You was invited in. You didn't have to go to the fella you owe money. The guy was in trouble. He was either going to get his business took off him, or he went to someone like my dad or the Nashes. And so they started looking at our places. In London, North London, South London. And that evolved into the West End, in the clubs in the West End. So it's just the little steps lead to bigger steps, really. He never grew up and just said, I'm going to be a criminal. Well, it was just, I don't even think my dad ever thought he was a criminal till the day he died. you ask me, Dad, I do what I do. I do what I do to survive, to put food on the table for my family.
I've also heard from a number of people the exact same thing, almost word for word, that your dad didn't go around demanding money. People would come to your dad offering money for the protection. It was a service that he provided, that he was asked for. So it's good to put that in there because he wasn't a bully.
No, the man's a straight go. He's trying to earn a living. You help him. You don't hinder him. But it was, in them days, like, you didn't really get. You got security guards now everywhere. You get shops, security guards. You got this. You got alarms on shops. You didn't have loads of alarms on shops years ago, like places, and you had that little bit of protection. A funny old story with it was near Old Street. It was near Old Street, and my dad and a couple of fellas, and they went and robbed a tobacconist, and it was like a warehouse place, and they've nicked some tobacco. Next thing you know, someone reached out and said, "Look, Reggie and Ronnie want to see you." And so his dad and Johnny Nash, what they want. So they went to see him. All saying, Ronnie's sitting there, and he went to his dad. He said, "We're protecting that guy, Joe." I said, "Oh, man, no, I didn't know you was protecting him." You know what I mean? He said, "It's Old Street. It's not your manor. Your manor's over that side of the road." You know what I mean? So then Reggie's getting a little bit fresh, going on like, "Well, listen, you can't tell us what boundaries are. If we want to go there, we'll go there. Your manor's the Angel." A deal got worked out in the end. You know what I mean? Ronnie come up with a deal. He said, "Oh, we come up with a deal." But that was the type of thing we're saying, like the tobacconist. He was paying someone to make sure his place didn't get burgled. So it weren't just like, thinking the bar, someone coming causing trouble. You also had that aspect of it. If his place does get burgled or something goes missing, he's got that protection where he knows he can get in touch with someone who can find out where his goods are gone. So
was that the first time your dad met Reg and Ron?
No, I believe I think the old man met him in Borstal.
But your dad formed a friendship with both Reg and Ron. Is that right?
Yeah. My dad's South London gang, if you like. One of his best mates was Jack the Hat, who the twins killed. And Jack the Hat was a big man, dangerous man, and so that caused a bit of friction.
So you mentioning Jack the Hat McVitie, and you said he was a big, strong man, because that's not how the film portrayed him.
Yeah.
They portrayed him as a bit of a sort of drunk weasel, but I know he was a big, tough man. When Jack the Hat got murdered, brutally, he got lured into that party in the basement, didn't he? And then Reg stabbed him multiple times in the eye. Have you heard a different version of events, or what's your opinion on how that murder took place?
We had the same opinions what the old man had. And, I remember once we were sitting there when Tony Lambrano, when he got out of prison. I remember once we were sitting in the Atlanta bar. And Tony used to do quite a lot of work for us when he come out. And, I remember the old man told me, and they was talking about it because obviously Tony knew that Jack was very tight with my dad. And my dad said, he died like a slag. He didn't deserve to die like that. And Tony was remorseful as well.
Right.
With maybe one of the things I've heard is this story's about, they was going to shoot him. I don't know. Was it premeditated? I don't know. It was definitely premeditated for him to get a good hiding, put it that way. But did it go over the line to a murder? I don't know.
So knowing what you know about Jack the Hat, because he was your dad's friend, do you think if Reg hadn't killed him, do you think Reg and Ron would have had a problem on their hands after?
Yeah. Yeah, the old man told Jack numerous times, you turn it in. You know what I mean? You can't be walking around pubs and pulling shotguns out and crap like that. What option are you giving a man? If a man comes looking for you with a gun, what are you going to do? You're going to walk back and looking for him with a pair of boxing gloves on? You're going to go and get a gun yourself. So he was told, but he was a wild card from what I was told about him, and especially when he'd had a drink. And we've all met people as well. They might be the most loveliest man in the world, but when they've had a drink, there's just something tweak goes in their head, and you can't control them. No matter how much sense you try and take, you'll hold that man now. Go turn it in. He's drunk. He can't see it. I think in them days and all, they was all popping speed pills, weren't they, and stuff like that in the 60s. So that mixed as well. And he was a proper handful though. But but on a normal day, You know, the twins weren't supermen. You know what I mean? You know, yeah, of course they'd have had their work cut out if definitely he would have wanted to have her out of them.
Was Jack the At friends with the Richardsons?
Not what I know. Jack was probably friends with a lot of people because he was quite a face in South London.
Because your dad was mates with Reg and Ron and the Richardsons, weren't he?
Yeah.
Which is peculiar because they were arch rivals at one stage. Is that right?
Yeah, from what I know, you know, Charlie didn't. You know, I knew Charlie well. You know, and I really liked Charlie. Me and him used to have a laugh. You know, Eddie I've met a few times, but Charlie was a businessman. Charlie was the type of Charlie couldn't give two monkeys. You know, Charlie'd just be like, "Where's the next deal?" You know, he wouldn't be bothered about making wars and that type of stuff. Whether Ronnie, you know, in some type of psychosis, mad one might have made something of it, I don't know. But Frankie Fraser and all, he was a loose cannon. You know, you get people on the fringes, they make arguments. It's the people on the outside what make the arguments. Sometimes it's not the men who are like, it might not be Reggie and Ronnie himself or Charlie and Eddie, but the guys they got hanging around them are making the situation.
So was your dad good at keeping the peace between rival gangs?
I suppose so. He tried to because he knew each other. They knew each other. But, you know, in them days, it was, you know, from what he used to tell me, you know, it was a bit like the Wild West.
So when Reg and Ron got convicted for the murder of Jack the At McVitie and George Cornell, was your dad put under the microscope? Yeah,
it's a funny story because, you know, I was 1 year of age and I was on the run. You know, so,
and never look back.
No, you know, because what happened was Dad and John, another fella, Peter Tilley, who was a South London fellow, they just went, look, everyone's getting pinched here, and we don't know who's talking. You know, there's definitely a lot, but this is proper. You know, it's all over the newspapers, everything. It said, and they was all amalgamated in the clubs in the West End, you know, and other bits of business they had together. So they decided to just piss off. So they just went, right, this is all going on. I don't want to be laying in bed, and they come and kick the door in. And we were all in remanded for 6 months. So they all rented a villa in Italy and took all their wives, took all their kids, and we was all out there for about 6 months, you know, like sitting in the sun till it all died down and, you know, to the trial. But it was the good move for them, just get away. Get away. Because, you know, that's what the old people do. They won't just nick one or two. They nick as many people as you can and then open one on the outside. They're going to open their mouths and grass. Which
grassing back in the day was extremely frowned upon. Not so much now. It seems everyone's prepared to grass to get their sentence reduced. But back then it was a big, big deal, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it's funny, though, as well, because like, when my dad was nicked for the Pen Club, you know, he got nicked for that and it was hanging. You know, if he'd have got guilty, he would have been hung.
And what was that for?
It was a murder in a club in Spitalfields, and it was called the Pen Club.
Right.
It was called the Pen Club because the money what brought the club was come from a robbery called in a pen factory or something like that. But there was a bit of insults going back and forward. A bit of something happened a few weeks before it, and my dad, Johnny Reid, Jimmy Nash walked in there, and a shooting happened. A guy got killed. Another one got shot. And it was in them days, I think it was about 62 or 63. It was massive news. Everywhere, you know, murder happened in broad daylight in this, you know, like a little drinking club in Spitalfields. And then they pinched them all, and that was it. They was going to get hung. By the time it went to court, there was about 10 witnesses when it first happened. You know, obviously, when my dad and all that, they got nicked, they all kept their mouth shut, no comments. They didn't say no comments, you keep your mouth shut. And then by the time it went to court, all the witnesses had changed their mind. And they're going, well, who pulled the trigger? So now there's no one saying who pulled the trigger. So the judge actually turned around. He said, you know, the first trial got nobbled as well, second trial, and then he turned around and went, this is one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in British history. He said, all I can say is that this guy walked in the path of a passing bullet. And that was it. You know, they all got not guilty.
Case dismissed.
Yeah, they all got out. But then actually give him guilty on the GBH.
Right.
because there was a few other things, so they got guilty on GBH. But the actual murder itself, my dad ended up doing about 18 months. But that was massive at the time.
Of course, to get 18 months instead of capital punishment.
Yeah. And going back to grasses, when you're going to get hung and a man keeps his mouth shut, it's a different calibre of man, you know what I mean? You know, if you're working with a man and the man don't grass you up, I don't ask for thanks. We don't ask for him to thank us because he shouldn't have been working with us in the first place if we don't trust him to do that. But you've got to have respect for that man. If you know you're both getting hung and you know, you've kept your mouth shut and he's kept his mouth shut, and, you know, when you are caught and you get not guilty, that's a love which is never going to end between you and them guys, you know. And
who was Jimmy Nash?
He was Nash Brothers out in North London. And there was actually a newspaper article back in them days, and it said the most evilest family in Britain, or the most wickedest family in Britain. It had a picture of the 6 brothers. And but my dad used to say, he used to walk around and Jimmy would be going, exercising his neck on the exercise yard. And he used to go, what are you doing? So he's going, I'm exercising my neck. He said, why? He said, because I want to make my neck so strong. When they put the noose on, the noose is just going to go, zoom, just come straight off my head, you know. The old man used to go, you're putty. You're God in the head, you know. But it was, you know, I'll tell you something, you know, because my dad was the youngest. He was 22. Jim was 25. Johnny was about 26. Obviously, I was the youngest one. He's the weakest link. So, you know, a couple of little dirty rumours are going, man, I think Joey might go the other way. So my nan and granddad go visit me in Wandsworth, and granddad's sitting there, and he's my nan's sitting there. And my dad's in there. He said, "What's the matter with you two?" And she went, "Nan and Joey, rumour." So, what rumour? What are you talking about? So my granddad went, "Look, there's a rumour that you might turn QE." You know, and the old man went, said that, no way in a million years, you know. And my nan jumped out the seat. I still get shivers down my neck now, you know. She jumped out the seat and went, I told you how effing son, I'll never bear grass. You know what I mean? You know, and that was the way she was, you know. I think she would have seen him hang before she would have been happy in coming out and being a grass.
That's a statement.
You know what I mean?
Did your dad pump those values into you as a young lad growing up?
The family did. And it rubbed off. You know, as I got older, things rub off on you. You know, my dad never sat me down and went, this is where you got to be. You got to be this, you got to be that, you got to be this. You know, just being around that environment.
He just led by example.
Yeah, and it was like, you know, it's my nan. My nan was, my nan's mum come from Glasgow. And my nan was hard as nails, you know, and she hated the old wheel. 8 of them. My granddad was a group of brothers out of King's Cross, 5 brothers. He had a twin brother, Joey. My granddad had a twin. And my granddad was, when he was a thief and all. You know, when they moved out of Carshall, and I think there was every butcher's and every warehouse, and when it got burgled and broken into and stuff like that. But he was very quiet, my granddad. So it was, you know, it was more just being around that environment all the time. You know, in my nan, you know, I ran my nan's one Sunday afternoon. We used to go around every Sunday, and the phone rang. And, you know, I'm like, hello, yeah, who is it? And then straight away, don't you dare ask who is it. If they want to tell you their name, they'll tell you their name. You know, just little things like that, you know.
And what was your childhood like on the whole?
I enjoyed my childhood. I had a good childhood. Loved my childhood. You know, there was times when it was absolutely fantastic. Times when, you know, visiting my dad in Nick a lot is difficult.
Let's go into that. How did you find that? Because I've got vivid memories when I used to be in and out of prison visiting my dad, having to, because he was the apple of my eye, despite the fact it's well documented that my father is a dog, a mutt, a piece of shit. But he's still my dad. And when I was younger, I idolised him and I loved and adored him. So when I'd go and visit him in jail, you know, you'd cling on to that hour for dear life. And I had a lot of built-up anger in me as well, because every visit. It feels like you're getting your dad snatched away from you. And I'd always leave in tears. And I don't think I've ever had a conversation with anybody else that would have spent as much time in and out of prisons as a child visiting their dad, where you're having to hug him, sit on his lap, listen to his voice, get familiar, and then it gets taken away from you again and again and again. Just relive some of those moments, and if it affected you, how?
I suppose it happened I was so young. It was normal to me. It was difficult, it was difficult. God, I travelled so many prisons, you name them, well, just sometimes at Wandsworth or something, it could be all around the country. As I got older, I was literally doing what I wanted. My poor mum had to go to work because, the money's run out. And she's having to go to work, so I'm coming home from school and, doing literally what I want to do. But it's funny, like, because you just made me think there when you were just saying about that. In a way, it probably made me and my father a lot closer than a normal father and son relationship. And it's something you just said then, which made me think. And it was the letters, what we sent to each other. And in them letters, we're both talking to each other, which probably wouldn't have happened if he hadn't been in prison and I hadn't been on the outside. We're telling her, how much I love him and how much I'm proud of him. And he's telling me how proud he is of me and, I'm proud of you looking after your mum. So when you think of that side, it's probably that what moulded a very tight bondship between me and my dad. Because, how often your father and son would sit there and have them conversations and, open themselves up.
Well, men struggle with that in general.
It's difficult.
It is tough.
Yeah, sometimes I sit there and with my boys and, there's things I want to say and I stutter at the last minute. I want to sit there and try and say things and, I'm proud and, say sons and daughters as well.
What do you think it is that holds a man back from being that open with his emotions? Do you think it's social pressure from society?
Possibly. And you've also got to have a good listener if you're going to open up. Society, as you know as well, there is this, especially in English society as well, or British society, you've got, everyone wants to be a tough guy. Everyone will be a man, And, most of the tough guys I knew didn't act like tough guys. They didn't act like it. I remember saying to my dad years ago, as a fellow, and he was like one of the toughest kids in this area, and he was a few years older than me. And I said, God, he looks really hard, Dad. He's got this big scar down his face, and he's built like that, and everyone's scared of him. And he said, well, I'll be more worried about the guy who gave him the scar.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, But it's a difficult question. Maybe we should, because I agree with you there 100%.
Yeah, I thought I'd sling that question in there because there's not many men that had to spend years visiting their dad in and out of prison. I mean, life is a series of hellos and goodbyes, but too many goodbyes becomes painful.
It's tough as well because, like, you do get to see sides and. It's demoralising in certain ways. It's horrible leaving there. As it's horrible leaving. It's going there, you're all excited. But it's the leaving. When you leave there and you've got a 3-4 hour journey back home and you're sitting there and your mind's ticking over. And, I used to sit there, sometimes and, I want to break him out. I want to get him out, And, I remember at Brixton, I must have been about 7 or 8. I tried to sneak one of my, Cowboys and Indian guns.
Yeah.
And they caught me with this little toy gun and they took us up to the office. And, it was, I should imagine that they'd probably nick me mum, they'd nick, you'd be barred, you know what I mean? But in them days, it was serious, but they took us up and in the office, there was all these files, all that Joe Pyle, all of these files. I remember seeing it. She managed to talk to one of the governors and said, he's just a young kid, 8, as if he's coming up here to try and seriously break him out. And, and their common sense prevailed and they let us visit my dad. But, it's just, little things like that.
So you're at 1 year of age, Reg and Ron, they get sent to jail and your dad sustains his friendship with them both, I'm guessing. So I'm assuming that you've also been to jail visiting Reg and Ron, and I'm just curious as to the contrast between the two of how you found them as you were growing up, and who you preferred as well. Did you prefer Reg or did you prefer Ron?
Oh, Ronnie.
Did you?
Yeah, Ronnie, yeah.
You preferred the absolute madman.
Yeah, you know. But Ronnie used to make me laugh, you know. We used to have a laugh with him. And, I started visiting Ronnie when he was in Broadmoor, and he probably around about 84, 85, 86 maybe.
And how old would you have been then?
When he just left school, 16, 17, like my dad used to drive me up there, like, because it was hospital rules, Broadmoor. So you can visit every day of the week. You can visit twice if you wanted. And like, you didn't have VO or that, you just turned up on the door. You know, just turned up on the door and opened the book. Is Ronnie Kray got a visit this morning? No, okay, right, you can go and see him. So my dad used to go and see him, and he used to take me up there. But I didn't really know who the twins were in them days. I was 15, 16. I didn't know, you know what I mean? To me, the toughest man in the world was my dad and his mates. You know, I didn't even think there was any other tough men apart from my dad and his mates. So we started visiting him. Then when I started driving, about 18, I started getting my mates up there. So, you know, my age.
I bet their parents loved that.
I know, you know, that's what they was going back to their dad. So I'm going to visit Ronnie Kray tomorrow. You know, their dads are like, what? You know? As
you do.
Yeah, and I'm taking them out. I suppose in them days, you know, they'd only been away about 18 years, hadn't they? So it weren't like, I must have visited Ronnie, hundreds of times.
So what's it like to be in a room with Ron Kray and actually have a conversation with him? And I'm assuming that you're going to be surrounded by other people in Broadmoor, like Sutcliffe, the likes of that, Bronson.
He always suited and booted, always, right? And they used to have a glass screen in Broadmoor, and used to like a half glass screen, and we'd be sitting in like the visiting hall, and then all of a sudden you could see the visitors walking up to the door where the staff nurses are. And then they knock on the door and open the thing, right? And you should see this fella bounce, right? Ronnie had this walk. He used to bounce when he used to walk. You know. So he'd open it and they'd open the door and he'd be suited and booted. He'd go like that. He'd come over the table. As soon as he come over the table, one of the guys would come over, one of the prisoners, and he'd order stuff. You know. He used to have these, what they call it, non-alcoholic beers. Just Caliber or something like that. It was non-alcoholic beers. He'd chain smoke cigarettes like nobody's business. He'd literally put a fag, as he said, three drags on a fag, he'd put it out and light another one straight back up. And, you know, he was just funny. You know, we was usually always, there was never any small talk. You know, I remember a couple of times, you know, I said, we went out the other night, Ronnie, you know, went to some disco, there's some nice-looking birds in there, all like that, and he goes, you know, he wouldn't get involved in that, you know, it was always...
It's because it ain't the birds he's interested in.
Yeah, should have maybe said boys, but, you know, but he was always business, he always had to do business or something, you know, it was always something, you know, I remember once he's come in, he's gone, Joe, you know, my dad was in prison at the time, and he said, I owed this money, $2,500. So I went, all right then. So he's given me a list. He said, can you go and collect it? He says, no aggro, they're going to pay it. They're going to pay it, but can you go and collect it for me? He was fantastic asking for a favour, Ronnie. He asked you a favour, you just couldn't say no. You know what I mean? But, so I'm thinking, like, he's got to go and pick $2,500 up. Yeah, okay. All right, yeah, no problem, Ron. I'll do it when I leave. I'll go and pick it up. I looked at the list, it's all over London. There's 400 quid in bloody East London, there's 300 quid in bloody Ealing, there's 400 quid in bloody Gravesend, you know what I mean? It's going to take me 2 days to drive man to get it. So I said, all right. So I went, yeah. I said, well, I'll come see you tomorrow morning. So I said, I'll bring it here, yeah? So he's gone, yeah. I said, I'll put it down my trousers and I'll bring it in. Yeah, do you want it in here? So he went, yeah. So I've gone out all that bloody day, got in 10 o'clock at night, you know, we got the money. He come all the bloody way back like that, smuggled it in like that. I said, Ronnie, I've got it here. So he's gone, I've got another list for you. So I've looked at it like that, I went, yeah. So he went, keep £100 for yourself, Joe. And can you drop £200 to this one, £100 to that one? There's another list all around the bloody country, do you know what I mean? There's another one. So now I've got another day driving all you know, everywhere. So
you become Ron Kray's debt collector.
Oh, don't start that one. I'll tell you about that in a minute. That's what they tried to call me on when I just got nicked.
I look forward to getting to that part.
But yeah, another time it's funny. There was me, Charlie there, my dad, Wilf Pine, and Wilf was funny because Wilf knew everyone. Wilf knew Twins, he knew the Richardsons. There was another one like Alex Steen, and but Wilf always, Wilf used to go at me. He used to go, "Yeah, Dad's the boss." He's the, he loved me, Dad. Wilf absolutely loved me, Dad. He did. But anyway, we were at Broadmoor, and Ronnie's sitting there, and he's gone. Look, I've got a canteen bill. He said, "Can you help me out? Can you pay it?" And Charlie's gone, "Yeah, no problem." He said, "We sort it out and we leave." And he went, "Joe, you all right with that?" And he went, "Yeah, I'll chip in." And Will's gone, "Yeah, I'll chip in." So visits carried on, gone outside. So we're now waiting for the canteen bill to be brought us. Right? So all of a sudden, they walked out like that, and the fella's got these bloody sheets of paper. Right? You wouldn't believe. But it's about 10 sheets of paper. So we're all looking at each other like that. I mean, it come to 1,600 quid for his canteen bill. You know what I mean? Like, the looks on my dad's face and Charlie's face. We expected about 100 quid. 1,600 £1,600, and back in the 80s, that was like, what's that like a day? $5 grand. And everyone was, what the bleeding hell has he spent £1,600 on a canteen? But that was Ronnie because he had visitors come up. He'd buy presents for people all the time, and they had like a catalogue, like a catalogue thing. He'd buy a watch for someone, 50 quid for a watch. When they turned up, he'd go, give them a watch, and every penny that from the stories I. Back in the day, every penny the Twins ever got, they give away. Give everything away, I remember hearing stories that, like, Reggie used to go mad at Ronnie. And he used to go, like, Friday night, payout night or whatever. Ronnie would give everyone, all the firm, money. And Reggie would go, we got no money, Ron. Ron would be like, what do we need money for? We get drinks anywhere, we got cars, what do we need money? But she go, well, I might want some money. Ronnie give it all away because he was just to have, everywhere they went, they were 10, 15-handed. The Twins, it's just they had so many hangers on. Walked into a bar with 10, 15 people with them.
The firm.
Yeah, everywhere they went. That was the funny thing about with there was actually, when they said about they was looking after the mob casinos in the West End, they was actually paid to stay away. Do you know what I mean? They was paid because they kept turning up with all these, 6'4", 6'5", fuggy looking fellas, and the mob's in there, Meyer Lansky's people, and they're all in there, George Raft and these guys, and they're all trying. You got Telly Savalas who might be in there gambling, Onassis, the Greek shipping magnate. He's in there, and then you got all these thugs walking in, literally walking in and screaming and effing and blinding at the bar and everything. And the old man and Johnny Nash went like, lads, look, we'll give you a few quid every week. Keep all this lot out of it. We're trying to run a business here.
What's it like being in a room with Ron Kray? Because it's well documented that he was a paranoid schizophrenic. Was you acutely aware that you were sat opposite or beside a complete psychopath, or did he come across as like a normal person? Normal.
You could see he was erratic. Sometimes he was erratic, where he's chain smoking cigarettes. Never ever come across I felt threatened or anything like that. It was like my granddad. I looked at Ronnie like my granddad. It's we used to have a laugh and a joke with him. A couple of times when I've gone up there, and I was talking to him about. He was an ex-con, famous ex-con. He turned a famous journalist, and then he spent the next 20 years slagging the Twins off. I'm not going to say his name. It's quite obvious if people know who he was. And we was talking about him, and Ronnie was getting annoyed. I'm going to him like, he's a thing like that. And Ronnie's kicking his legs as he's sitting there. When I've come out, I took one of my mates up there. My mates told me, I said, what's the matter with you? He said, my legs are black and bloody blue, He said, he was kicking a lot. I said, why didn't you say anything? He went, I've got to say Ronnie Kray, I said, you should have told him, why are you kicking my bleeding legs, But he used to make me laugh. He used to make me laugh. And, some of the things used to go, when he used to when he'd fall out with Charlie and he'd call him X, And I used to go, what, you want me to do? And, and he used to go, joking, do me a favour, ring X up for me. I used to go, what, Charlie? He used to go, X. And I used to look at my mate and go, like, all right, what do you want me to say to X? And he was telling me he's a no good sod. And he took a right liberty. I was going, okay, I'll ring X up when we leave. Some of the things like that used to, make us laugh.
Let's go right back to where you left school, you're boxing, things seem calm, you're plodding along. Yes, you live a very different life because your dad's Joe Pyle. But was there a moment that really changed the direction of your life?
I had a motorbike accident when I was 16. Up until then, I was doing world boxing, amateur boxing. Up until then, I wanted to be a professional boxer. After the motorbike accident, then I couldn't walk for about 6 months. I was on crutches and stuff like that. Broke my femur. So maybe that I drifted away from boxing, but then I kept drifting back into it. But then before I know it, 17, 18, before I know it, I'm 26, 27, 28, and in my mind, I'm too old to turn pro at 27, 28. Back in them days, a fighter's career was, if you got 30, 31, you was looked upon as your career's over. Nowadays, it's different. You've got fighters fighting until they're 40 years of age. But in them days, it was, you needed to turn pro quite early 20s, maybe late teens. So maybe that. It was easy money. It was, it was always easy money. Everyone I knew was at it. Family, friends, dad's friends. The temptation to earn a quick buck.
What about some of your fighting idols like Roy Shaw, Lenny Mclean? I'm assuming you must have been wrapped around them at some stage.
Yeah, I was at all the fights. I was at all 3 fights.
What, the trilogy?
Yeah. In the second one, I was actually in the ring.
How old were you when Lenny and Roy fought the first time?
That was 76, so I was 9 or 10.
Right. I know we're skipping back, but people will be very interested in this part of your life because a lot of people talk about these stories, but they weren't actually there.
I was there with the fights, the negotiations, and through the years, for the whole lot with Roy and Lenny.
And were you Team Lenny or Team Roy?
Oh, honestly, Roy. In them days, Roy was best mates with my dad. Roy was an handful, very big handful. When Roy got out of prison, when Roy was in prison, my dad used to visit Roy all the time. We didn't know Lenny Mclean in them days. I remember the story with Frank Warren, the promoter, his uncle Bobby Warren. And Bobby Warren, and then what they'd done is they had this Lenny guy, and they come down. Once Roy was beaten, in the unlicensed governor in them days, it was all about money. There was no crooked fights. There was no, to the governor fights. It was who's got the most money? What can you put on the table? What can you put on the table? You put 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand on the table, you got to fight. And all of a sudden, they went into Alex Steen's office, and Bobby Warren and Lenny and said, we want to make the fight. And, who's Lenny Mclean? Don't know him. He's 28-year-old. Roy was about 42, 43. And so they made the first fight, and then, Lenny gives a lot of excuses why he lost, and Roy gives a lot of excuses why he lost. So, by the end of the day, he lost and Roy lost. But, they had the first fight, and then they hated each other. And then, and then Lenny was haunting Roy. Every time Roy was anywhere, a fight, and Lenny would go there, get in the ring. I remember I was at the Stander fight, Ron Stander fight, when they brought the American over who boxed Joe Frazier and Alexander Palace. And as soon as Roy beat Ron Stander, Lenny's straight up in the ring. Through the ropes, I'll fight you next. He wouldn't leave him alone. So the second fight had to happen. It had to happen. But through all of that, the pair of them. But Roy, I loved Roy. Roy was he was like an uncle to me. He was.
Well, that's interesting because a lot of people, I find that people talk more about Lenny Mclean than they do Roy Shaw, and so I feel like I know more history about Lenny than I do Roy. So it's interesting to get someone that was more familiar with Roy. So tell me a bit about Roy Shaw.
Roy was he was a villain, arch villain. You know, he was an armed robber. Dangerous man. You know, I remember the first time my dad used to drink in a place in Neil Brown's bar in Tooting Beck. And my dad met Roy in prison, one of his prison stints. And he said to me, Uncle Ted, he said, right, I'm bringing the fellas coming down here tonight to have a drink with us. You lot bloody behave yourself. Because if you wind him up and he goes, none of us will be able to stop him. So even back in them days, you know, back in the 60s, you know, Roy had this reputation. But he loved me dad, absolutely loved me dad. Roy, though, he knew the twins, you know, he had an argument with the twins, you know, he was an handful. You know?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Do you know that was over?
It was over something, just Roy was like impeding on someone else's, what they called their turf over something, and Roy wouldn't give someone a clump, and then basically, you know, my dad, Roy, and Johnny Nash walked down to Great Morris, down at Whitechapel, sorted it all out. And, you know, when them three walked in the room, the old bloody room went quiet, you know. Imagine Ronnie's sitting there, Joe, come over, come on, have a drink, you know what I mean? I mean, so we come over, you know, is there a problem? No problem, come on, let's have a drink, what are you drinking? You know.
Was Roy Shaw more tough, more psychotic, or was he both?
Oh.
Because he's got a very unhinged look to him.
Do you know something? Roy was a gentleman, a proper gentleman, but he could be a loose cannon. Once the beard started flying and, you know, and he starts biting glasses and, you know, starts, you know, picking chairs up, and, you know, you could see that's in him. You know, he had the liquid cost, didn't he, when he was in Broadmoor years ago. And, you know, they couldn't control him in prison. He kept knocking governors out, knocking screws out and, you know, bashing everyone up in there. So they sent him to Rampton. He'd given it like what, you know, people see it now with the Charlie Bronson films. So Roy went for all that treatment. You know, went there and they drugged him up, and they was going to, you know, he was going to die. And it was funny, like Roy always tells a story. He said he was laying there, he'd been drugged up for about a month. Don't even know what day of the week it is. In the mines, you might have go.
This is in Broadmoor.
Yeah, and my dad got someone in there. The fellow who used to run the Sulky, used to run the Astor Club in Leicester Square, which is now the Hippodrome. But my dad sent Sulky up there and said to him, look, message from Joe. And about 12 o'clock at night, the governor has let Sulky go in because, you know, Roy's such a bloody handful. And he's gone in there and Sulky's got a message from Joe, you've got to turn this in. They're going to kill you. You're going to die. You know, and he turned it in. And Roy used to always say, you know, Joe saved me life. You know, boy, when he come out, Dad met him at the outside and, you know, went to straight away with Alex Steen and went to him, come on, you got any money? And, you know, he's a couple of grand. Come on, just go down to car showrooms, give him a car, you know, and set him up on his feet, you know.
But you saw a softer side to Roy Shaw.
Yeah. I remember when my dad was in the hospice, I knew he went coming up. You know, a couple of people, oh, what's he like, Joe? You know, is it an episode because he had a motor neuron disease? But I'd just had a feeling he ain't coming out of here, you know. It's how long he's going to take him to go. And so I got on the phone to everyone. And I said, right, listen, if anyone wants to say goodbye to Dad, you better get up here. You know, within 2-3 hours, there's 200 people outside the hospice. And I'm basically quarterbacking the situation, you know what I mean? I'm standing and I'm going like, listen, look, right, in a minute I'll take you in to see me dad, you know, and some of you wait there. I'm like, yeah, do you know what I mean, trying to get them in. And so it's about 8 o'clock at night and I've come out and I'm standing there and I was just talking to someone. I said, look, these guys are going to go and have 5 minutes with me dad, and when they come out, you can come out. Also, and this Rolls Royce has just belted up the road. Literally just come up in the car park. Everyone's jumped out of the way. Roy Shaw's jumped out of it. Ain't even shut the door. Like this, Joe. Like, I went, Roy, where is he? Right, and everyone's saying, hello, Roy, and he's not. He's gone. He's oblivious. Do you know what I mean? Right, so I mean, come on, like that. You know, he's pushed the door in. You know what I mean? Where is he? Right, so I walked in. He's run over to me dad like, you know. he grabbed hold of him. He went, fight it, Joe, fight it. He was going to him, holding him, like that, and Roy just broke down. I had to grab hold of Roy. I said, Roy, come on. And my dad was on the morphine, so I could see my dad, he's opening his eyes, and my dad went like that with his hand to try and grab Roy's arm, And Roy was going, no, you can't, this can't happen. And then I walked Roy out and, go back to bed cuddling, you know what I mean? And I held him, I said, he's going to go, Roy. He's going to go. Roy, no, he wouldn't accept it.
What year did your dad die?
2007.
How was that for you?
It might sound cold, but because he was ill for 18 months, I had plenty of time to
process it
in my head. I know it's coming. If it would have happened overnight and I've just woke up the next day and all of a sudden someone said your dad's had an accident or something like that, I don't know what would have happened to me. And, whether I could have dealt with that, I don't know. But where we had all that time and, we used to, every Friday night we'd go round his house and, Freddie Fulmer used to come round there, Bonnie Fields, he just done, but loads of people, some we'd get Tam around there, Tam Sand, Ray Winston would come round.
I've just spent a weekend with Tammer.
Yeah, Tam would come round one day and, it was, we tried to make these last, but, Friday night was all, we didn't go to the pub, we went to, my dad had been in his wheelchair and, and he had his oxygen thing, and, he'd sit there with his brandy, and we'd talk. And he'd be saying to me, son, I'm not going to be here, And then he started losing his voice as well because of the motor neurone. It was very hard to understand him. And I could see the frustration in his eyes. He's trying to tell me things. I was going, don't worry, Dad, don't worry,
I want to talk about your Mean Machine promotions. In fact, all the boxing promoting that you've done. But let's talk about a few of your stints in jail. And tell me as much as you can or you're happy to. And then we'll transcend into the success of the business side of you. So what was the first thing you went to jail for?
First thing was fraud. It was. They basically wanted to put me away. The old man was nicked on his charge. And the old Bill wanted me away. And I was following, going back to what you're saying about me running other companies and stuff like that. I grew up around a lot of guys. All they ever wanted to do was go and rob a bank and then to go and buy a company. So I used to look like, everyone's go, I'll go and get loads of money, go straight. Let's go, well, we can go straight without, what I mean? We go straight first. Why go and risk getting 20 years in Nick? And, it goes back when, I was the president of my own union, I formed my own union and stuff like that. But I was involved in a glass company, and it was a glass company. It was a PLC company. My dad was in prison. We were both involved in it. And I was running that, so I'm outside earning the money, keeping things ticking over while they're hammering in with everything, with this last thing where he got nicked for. And so they got an operation on me. It comes out after when I get pinched. One day I'm with one of the guys who was working for us on the company, and he phoned me up and he sent me a message. He said, look, I've got do you want to get them samples and them mirrors? Keep your boot empty, because it's got to take up all your boot. Right? And the old Bills looking at that, thinking straight away, what are they thinking? Right? And in them days, you used to have Moroccan soap bars, but then they started doing ones where the nickname was mirrors.
Ah, okay.
So the old Bills think, keep your boot empty, right? So I've turned up. Next thing I know, we're sitting there. Next thing I know, the old Bill crashed. The windows come in. I'm dragged out of the car like that. So I go straight for the boot. Right, so looking like that, there's nothing in there. Right, it's proper mirrors. Right,
actual mirrors.
Where you look at yourself in the mirror. And I can see them looking. They're going like, they're really pissed off. And I'm sitting like that. Then also inside the guy, and then they're searching the front of the guy's car. Inside the front of the car, the guy had, it was some counterfeit money. It was, I won't say what it was for, I'll just say there was some counterfeit money in there. But it belonged to him, didn't belong to me. But this is the guy who's running the company, kind of criminal record. So, And also, he's the one who's paying me mum money every Friday night, Saturday morning or whatever. Like, my dad's money. He's handling the money for the businesses. So he can't go to prison. He can't get nicked. So, going against the grain, I put my hands up. I ate it, I've had to turn around, I went, I'll build their mine.
So you took the rap for something you didn't do?
Yeah, because he couldn't get, if he would have got nicked, mum's money and everything else. So that's the first time I went to prison. When I gone to court, all the paperwork's come out, all the operations they got on me. It was Regional 9, and even the magistrate was sitting there, and the magistrate was turning around, he was like, why is there 8 Scotland Yard detectives for a man who's arrested for like 300 quid's worth of counterfeit money? And all these detectives are sitting there in George Armani suits, and and I'm like, no, I'm going, don't ask me, you know what I mean? So bang, give me 9 months. Give me 9 months for that. And then I'm in Brixton. They took me to Brixton prison. And also at about 10 o'clock at night, Screw's coming. He said, there's a phone call for you. So, what do you mean a phone call? So, and I'm thinking, Jesus, death in the family or something, you know what I mean? So he took me downstairs in the office, walked in there. He said, Joey. So I went, what, Dad? What? So he's gone, right, listen, you're coming to Belmarsh. So I'm like, I'm a Cat D prison. I'm in Nick Ford. I'm waiting to go to Ford open Nick or something. You know what I mean? So I went, yeah, all right, Dad. So he went, right, we're all here now. We've all refused to bang up, and he's there with all the IRA boys, right, and Category A, the unit in Belmarsh. They've all refused to go to their cells unless the governor comes and gives them the guarantee that I'm going to plead in Belmarsh the next day. So that was, so I'm like, all right, put the phone down. Next day they've ghosted me out. Took me to Belmarsh. Even when I get to Belmarsh, the reception looked at me like, what the bloody hell are you doing here? I don't know. So that was the first time then,
So your first stint in jail, your dad writes on the wing and insists that you get transferred from Brixton to Belmarsh to do your bird with him.
Yeah. And I'd done every day in bloody Belmarsh, you know what I mean? Top bloody security bloody prison,
What was that like, being in Belmarsh?
I didn't mind it, to tell the truth. I was Ronnie Field. I don't know if you've just seen Ronnie's just done a book called Notorious.
Yes.
Yeah. He was 3 cells along from me. So we was on the freeze and the house about 4. And we used to just play Kaluki all day. Just playing cards and gamble Yorkie bars and, rich crackers and... and I used to get in there just doing my press-ups and sit-ups in the cell.
Where did you prefer, Brixton, Nick, or Belmarsh?
Belmarsh. Brixton was back in them days, it's got a bit better now, but in them days it was still slop out. The wing I was on still has slop out. No toilet in your cell.
Oh.
And in the morning, you walk down the landing with this bucket and there's a great big horse trough thing. You walk in, everyone just slings their stuff in it. The stink is absolutely horrendous.
When you got banged up for the first time, did your name precede you? Yeah.
It did. Well, when I got to Belmarsh, I was there a day and I got a letter from Ronnie Kray. So,
He was chuffed.
The screws coming, he threw it on my bed, you know what I mean? It's been open, so he read it, you know what I mean? It was just a short and sharp, keep your chin up, we're here for you.
Did you get looked after in Brixton?
Not in Brixton, to tell the truth, because I was only in there for a little bit. But
Belmarsh, different story.
Yeah, and I was on my own as well. So, as soon as I got in there, basically, it was, in them days, it was just a joke. You had to wear all their uniform. The old shirts, striped shirts. They give me a pair of jeans, which was, was about 38 waist. Pair of underpants they give you got to wear their underpants, like white underpants, white fronts, they've given them, like, haven't gone this cell like that, there's all brown stains in them. They've been washed, but there's all,
There was evidence of the previous owner.
Those just shout you, you know what I mean, the screws in them days. Screws like nowadays are like, they just freshly, some of them, you know what I mean, they ain't got a clue. So a lot of screws in the old days are all ex-military.
Did you get to spend any time with your dad in Belmarsh?
Yeah. I used to visit him on Saturday mornings. They used to take me over, and he was through a glass. He was still we had to visit him through a glass.
Did he love the fact that he managed to get you in the same nick as him?
Yeah. Because when I went into House Block 3 originally, on the first night, and then all of a sudden I can hear out the window, Joe Pyle, them shouting. So I'm looking out the window, put your arm out. Put my arm out. Who is it? It's Ronnie. You're coming over here tomorrow. We've sorted it out. We've got you a cell. Right, so the next day I go straight into a single Peter. I've been in there 2 days. I'm in a single Peter, on the force. And, there's always a waiting list, people trying to get in a single cell. And, the food was better. In Brixton, all the food, everything tasted the same. It could be anything. It all tasted the same. I remember getting a mincemeat. I thought, cool, you can't go wrong with mincemeat, can you? I've got loads of bread like that. It tasted like it'd been made with devil in it. It was just, they had a pie and like they baked the veg in the crust. Right, your peas and carrots are baked in the crust of the pie, and you got plastic knife and fork. As I've gone like that, crack, they both snapped. Brixton was horrible in them days.
And how long did you spend in Belmarsh?
In total, 3 months.
And obviously your dad was, you got released and your dad stayed in there. What was your dad in there for?
He was in conspiracy to supply. Then they brought it down to Class A. It was a possession conspiracy to supply Class A. I think he got 14 to begin with, then he got brought down to a 9 on appeal.
Is this the same?
Same one, yeah.
Is this the same job that my old man was part of?
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember what I was doing around that time because I'm 10 years younger than you. So I'm out and about as a kid and you're in Belmarsh with your dad. That's crazy. So so you've come out, obviously you're now a free man, and what were you doing? You got back to taking care of the family business?
Yeah, he just come out, I can't remember what I went into straight away. I can't remember what I was doing. I think I went to South Africa. I was out there for a while.
Okay, before we get to South Africa, here's a question. You went to jail the first time for something you didn't do. You took the rap for the reasons that you've previously discussed, which is very, very honourable. So when you come out of jail the first time, you can't come out with a mindset of, I've learnt my lesson, I'm not going to do that again. Because you didn't do it in the first place. No. So what was your mindset when you come out of jail? What was your thoughts?
My first thought when I got out was give me a proper fag and a wimpy or McDonald's. That was the first thing. But no, you're right. Come out. It was I basically just spent that time in there for nothing. But that was part of the game. It's the part of the world I'm in. I wasn't angry about it. But I suppose the thing I was more angry about is the guy I took the rap for pissed off while I was we moved out of Saudi Arabia while I was inside.
That's a tough pill to swallow.
So we come out and he'd gone.
And then from there you went to South Africa.
Yeah, I was working with a woman called Lady Janet Neves. She was the granddaughter of Harry Neves, who got blown up by the IRA.
So what was you doing in South Africa?
I ended up a lot of things. When I first went out there, I got a phone call. Someone's running a long-term fraud out there. So they want some help. So I've come out. When I come out of prison, I didn't have nothing. I lost my business as well because I had another business. Not only working with my dad, I had a sports shop in Wallerton. I lost that as well. And all I had was this car. I had this car about 2,800 quid I sold it for. So I sold the car, I jumped on a plane, gone out to Joburg, met up with the people. Had a look. I said, what's the business? We had a look at the business. I said, that's a joke. I said, you haven't even got a bank account. I said, you want me, what are we going to do over here? It's going to take months for us to do anything, get a business right going out here. So I've ended up, just knocking about. Also, I'm knocked about 1,000 people my age, fella, and then going to Joburg. And the first time in Joburg is funny. And there was another woman. He's dead now, so I can say his name. A guy called Shai Abbasar, Jewish guy. He lived in Joburg, involved in the diamond trade. And first time I've gone to his house, there's all bullet holes in the side of the house. So they're all sitting there. There's him and his brother and this other guy, Dion, who I ended up, who was the same age as me. He just come out of the army because they had national service out there. Also, I could see they're arguing. They're getting prepared to go somewhere. Also, he's come out with his Magnum shotgun, his pump shotgun with a Magnum barrel on it. And he's going, Joe, you know how to use a shotgun? And I'm like, yeah, of course I do. So that was the first time I ever held a pump shotgun, you know. So he went, I want you to look after my family. And I'm like, okay. So he said, we have to go somewhere, and if anyone come here and knock or try to kidnap my son, you shoot them. So I'm like, yeah, okay. so they've gone now. So
Welcome to Joburg.
Yeah, now I'm sitting, I'm going, what the bleeding hell am I doing here? You know what I mean? What am I doing in Joburg, honestly? You know, thank God they come back and it was all right. But now I'm involved with them. So now it's gradually me getting drawn in. They go, Joe, come with me now. Come here. And, you know, and it all ended up with, you know, long story, me ended up in a jail in Angola. So,
how did that happen?
In them days and all the ANC and all that, the ANC, like, Mandela was a good man, great man. But underneath him were all quite shady characters. And one of the things I used to do, because in Angola, where it was a civil war, there was no economy there. There was no money. You could have £1 million there, but you can't spend it on nothing because there's nothing there.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? There's no trade. There was nothing there. You know, you couldn't drive down the road and buy a car. There's no car showrooms. So, you know what I mean? It's absolutely nothing. You know, the actual Angolan money, you could have a lorry load in, it's probably worth about £5. You know, inflation and everything else with it. And so, like, what I used to do is take jeeps from South Africa and they'd drive them up, and a lot of the kids my age, you know, they'd just swap them for rough cut stones. Because there's so many, like, you know, so many diamonds in Angola. Alluvial diamonds, you know, you go northwest Africa and the Mclean, they call it, Skeleton Coast. You literally, but you can't, it's all blocked off. You can't actually walk down there. But, you know, like on the desert side of it, there's diamonds on the floor. You pick them up if you're lucky enough, you know. But so we've ended up, you know, I've gone with them on a trip. And, you know, we've ended up at the border, talking to some mercenary guys. This town was like the Wild West, you wouldn't believe it. Everything's going through this town. You know, these guys are smuggling guns, this guy's smuggling this guy's smuggling that, everyone. And on the other side of the town, before you get into Angola, everyone's getting pissed and having a laugh and playing pool. And, you know, next day we gone in, bash, that's it, we got flopped on, get nicked. That's it, I'm nicked. And I had short hair, I had a cropped hair. And in them days, all like the guys my age, they all had the Michael Bolton mullet.
The big mullet.
You know, with the young fellas. And I've got no passport, and my accent, they're saying you're a mercenary. No, I'm a Cockney bloody Del boy. I'm out just sort of, you know, just there on the end of their shirt tails. You know, I didn't say that, but that's going in my head. So that ended up, you know, I banged up there for 12 weeks.
I mean, that's got to be a different ball game to Brixton and Belmarsh, surely.
Oh, it was horrific, to tell the truth. It was, I had nothing to tell them, and that's the truth. And if I did have something to tell them, I don't know if I would have told them. It was, you know, there's no food, there's nothing to eat, there's nothing, you know, you're lucky if you get a glass of water every day. There was a lot of people got killed.
I was going to say, they do violence very differently over there.
It's horrible. I travelled a lot around Africa, you know, Kenya, I was running a casino in Kenya and other places. And but Angola, it's you know, we was in a cage. They moved us out to one compound once, and put us in a cage, and this was a cage. It was about the size of this room with corrugated steel on the top of it to keep the sun off. And they should some days they'd take the corrugated steel off just to have a laugh at we're sitting there with the sun belting on us. You know, I mean, they thought it's funny, some of them evil, horrible ones. But most of the time it was on. And then there was one guy they brought, because I was with all the I don't know if you know about the conflict out there, you had the UNITA rebels.
No.
UNITA rebels. It was a communism thing. South Africa got involved in it at one stage, and revolutions went on, and it was a war-torn country for a long time.
So you're banged up over there in the middle of all this?
Yeah, it was more of a military camp I'm in, more than a prison. It was, you know, because most of the people I was with, near enough all of them, they was all rebels, right. UNITA rebels. They put one guy in there, in the thing, he died one night. You know, they wouldn't move him out the cage for about 4 days, 5 days.
So you're left there with a dead body beside you for days?
You know.
That's heavy.
You know, and we had an oil drum in the side of it. That was your toilet where you went piss and, went to number ones and number twos, you know what I mean, in there. But they didn't give you no food. You didn't want to go to the toilet anyway, so. But, and I got let out. It must have been some type of exchange, because one day they come and got me, and then they took me to Windhoek, which is in, it's like northwest Africa, just underneath Angola, Namibia. And they took me there, and then literally just at the border, and then I was ghosted out of Namibia straight away. Got a plane to Amsterdam. I was put on a plane, given a 24-hour passport, someone from the embassy.
So if they've banged you up in Angola and taken the roof off so that you burn from the sun, that's a form of torture, no matter how you look at that. And then they're leaving dead bodies beside you for days. I mean, that's horrendous bird. And they think you're a mercenary. So in your mind, were you thinking, am I ever going to get out?
You don't care no more. I was concussed when I first got nicked out of there. I was concussed.
What was that from?
That was when they first arrested us.
What? Because they went in heavy-handed?
And so, when I woke up, I'm basically in a chair, and and I ain't got a clue what's going on. They're saying half of them's talking double Dutch. You know what I mean? You can't understand what they're talking about. And I'm like, and you're scared. You are worried. You are scared. You know what I mean? You are scared what's going on. But what happens after 24, 48 hours? Something happens in you, and they can't hurt you after that, really. Do you know what I mean? It's like, after 24, 48 hours, I was like, do what you got to do. You know what I mean? You ain't let me sleep for a day and a half. You know what I mean? You're not feeding me. You're not eating. I don't know if you're going to kill me or not. Right? But, you keep doing that to someone, the fella's going to go, well, do it. Do it. And I remember talking to a soldier a few years ago. We was running close protection. I had a lot of soldiers working for me. And, he was actually an interrogator. He's been everything. He'd been a sniper in the army. He'd been interrogated. And he was saying to me, he said, a lot of the times, you've got a time window to get information out of someone before they clam up. You know what I mean? Before they actually clam up. And I felt that way. It went through. It was just like wash, really. Do you know what I mean? Just went through.
And they're pushing for information that you've not even got.
I don't know what to tell them. There's nothing. I can't tell them. I'm telling them the truth. He's saying, do you know this one? Do you know that one? Do you know? Oh, I never heard of it.
And how long were you kept in those conditions for?
9 weeks.
Longest 9 weeks of your life?
Might have been the shortest. Because it just, because it literally, I was, I don't know, do you know, a lot of it, and, I'm numb, a lot of it I'm numb to now. I don't know if I switched off from it, but a lot of it I'm quite numb to it. I never spoke about it for quite a long time. And then when I done the book a few years ago, I was giving an explanation. I was talking about South Africa.
And just give me the name of your book so we can pop it up on the screen now.
It's called Like Father, Like Son, A Journey of Minds. It was funny because someone wanted to do a film on it. Like when we was in the film industry and one of the things we was talking about a film for my dad, and then the fella said, Joe, why don't you bloody do a script for that, what happened to you in South Africa and all that? And then I got thinking about it. And so I thought, I'll put it down on paper in case I bloody get dementia when I'm older or so, and I'll forget it. So at least it's there.
So when they finally drive you somewhere to release you, when you're being driven, did you know you was being released, or did you think they're going to drive you to your destiny?
I thought I was being killed. Yeah, 100% thought I was being killed. And even when they let me when I jumped off the back of the thing and I'm walking, I'm still thinking they're going to shoot me.
Do you think they're going to shoot in the back of the head?
Yeah, or, that's just going to, I don't know, just having a game. But then I saw the border. Then I saw the border gates, and I thought, and as soon as I see them, I thought, well, they're not shooting me in front of the border.
What was that feeling like?
Numb. You're quite numb. You're quite numb to everything.
Did you get any therapy after that?
Nah.
Because that wasn't the done thing back then, was it?
Nah. But a while after that, I started having, I didn't, when I tried to hide it. It was anxiety attacks. And the first time it happened, I was like, I thought I was having a heart attack. And then I've ended up getting to the hospital, and I was literally, I couldn't remember my name. They go, what's your name? I'm like, do you know what I mean? I'm trying to calm myself. And then I had the shakes afterwards. And they, when they calmed me down, next day I had these shakes, and they give me these tablets. I think it was like a version of Prozac in them days.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
An anti-anxiety.
Yeah. But they made me worse. So, I took one of them and I'm like that. So, and I don't like taking chemicals. So I ended up going running all the time and I beat it that way, running. But I remember a few years after that, a couple of other things and, and I was in therapy, seen a counsellor over a few things. And the counsellor says, you're holding on to so much stuff. There's so many things that happen to you which are still on your back, pulling you down. Do you know what I mean? So you basically come out of them years with a mountain on your back. His words, and he was a counsellor, he said, you were fucked up. I don't like to swear. But, that's what he said.
The fact you said exercise is sort of what got you back on track. That's what I promote all the time. Before you start taking uppers and downers and prescription drugs, try exercise because that may just be the cure.
Yes.
I'm all for therapy. I'm all for speaking.
Do you know? I never was. I never was for it. And when people used to say they got depression, they got things like that, I say they just need a good kick up the arse. That's what they need. Till it actually hit me, and I couldn't get out of it. And I was there, and I was like, I couldn't get out of it. I just felt like I've lived my life. My life's happened. What's the point of me being on this earth anymore?
It creeps in.
Yeah, and I couldn't see a way out. And exercise got me out of it. I got on a plane. I went to Bangkok. I walked into Phuket. Went down to Phuket. Went to a Muay Thai gym and trained for 9 weeks every day, 6 hours a day, every day. Started feeling good about myself. Because before that, it's no good. Like I remember my dad died as well. Someone said, I said, I've got so many decisions we had to make, and I said, I've got to go away. I can't make the decisions that I've got to make at the moment until I get away. And for this, I'll come to Spain. I'll come to Los Angeles. I'll come to New York. I thought I'm going to be 10 times worse because I'm going to go out there. I'm going to get pissed. You're going to be boozing me up. I said, I'm going to feel worse in myself. Hungover every day. Like, what am I going to solve in bed? I'm going to solve nothing. So that was the first time I went to Thailand, and I went out there and I trained every day. I come back feeling fit, feeling strong, feeling sharp. You're eating good food. And that I think is the best tonic in the world. And I go back to the depression bit, and now I understand what it's. Where before I was, I was like, I know what my nan would have said. Nan, I'm depressed. She would have been like, well, get out of it, clumpy around the ear. But now I understand it's, I think what someone said to me, if you've got a broken leg and someone says, come and snap out of it, just get out, you can't. It's the same thing with depression, isn't it? You can't just say it, someone snap out of it. It's the same. It's a condition, isn't it?
Let's move into your promotion side of life, the business you put together promoting fights, because I know that you was promoting the unlicensed boxing because I done security for you one day. But what was you doing? You had something beforehand.
Yeah, I'd done it the wrong way round. The usual way. What happened is people do the unlicensed and then they go into the pros, like Frank Warren and a couple of other people. I can't think who else now, but there's quite a few promoters who started off on the unlicensed. Even though my dad created unlicensed boxing, Alex Steen and Roy Shaw, they created the term unlicensed boxing. And but it was funny. We was in a pub one night, and my dad was there, and we was talking and everything. And he said, "Why don't you be a promoter, Joe?" So he went, "Yeah." So we got talking. Next thing I know, I phoned his mate up, Harry Holland, and he said, "Yeah, you've got to phone the British Boxing Border Control up there, and obviously in the borough then, up near London, London Bridge." And I phoned them up, and they said, "Yeah, okay, right, we're going to send you some forms out, do the forms, fill the forms out, and come and get an appointment." So, what they don't do though is what they should do is then they should give you a book. You've got the rules and regulations, called it the Green Book. It's only a little book, about 100 pages in there. It's got all the rules and regulations in it. And so I've turned up on my meeting, and we're sitting there, and I'm at the end of this big table, and there's all the British Boxing Border Control around it. And I'm on. I swear they do it on purpose. The chair I was on, it felt like I was sitting on the floor, and they're all sitting up there. And it was like 10 of them all asking me these questions. Going, like, well, what about medical facilities? What have you got to have in place for medical eventualities? So I go, I'll get the St John's ambulance there, and they're like, St John's ambulance? And they were quite brutal with me as well. Like some of them, like. There was a guy there called Robert Smith. Give me his due. He was General Secretary at the time, boxing man. And his dad used to train Dave Boy Green, the old fighter, who British champion, fought Sugar Ray Leonard. So he asked me. He went, look, I can see you need to, read the book really. So he said, what we're going to do is we'll give you the book and come back in 4 weeks' time. And 4 weeks, 8 weeks, I can't remember what it was. But in the meantime, I went on holiday. I took the book with me. And I read the book, like, it was like funny, it was like a Bible. Fellas read a Bible and get used to the Bible. And I'm learning every word. And when I've gone back on the next thing, I'm firing. I'm even adding things on. But I don't want it to move. I don't want it, Anxiety's a funny thing. If you don't know what you're talking about, it's 10 times worse. But now they're asking me questions where I want them to ask me more questions because I've got all the answers. I'm enjoying it. And so Friday, they said, look, I'll be honest with you, it's not even worth you going upstairs and us having a chat. You've got your licence. They said it because usually they'll send you upstairs, they'll have a chat amongst themselves, and then you come back down and get yes and yay or no.
A bit like a jury.
Yeah. And they just looked at each other like that, and they said, well, it's not even worth you going upstairs. We can see, what you're talking about. Right, I'm going to grant you a licence. Bang, that's it. And then I found out after I was the youngest ever promoter. I was 28 or 29, 1997. And then, but I remember it was when they turned around and said you beat Frank Warren by about 3 months or something like that. So I never checked it out, so I don't know if it's true or not. But so now I'm in the pros. Started first show, Royal Garden Hotel, dinner show, nice and easy. 3 fights. And brilliant, through our connections, Roger Daltrey is there, I've got half the EastEnders cast there, sitting there having dinner, England cricket team were upstairs, they're playing at Lord's, but they're actually staying in the hotel that night, so we've ended up, someone see them in the lobby, brought them downstairs, so I've got all the England cricket team there, Jimmy White, so everyone was there, fantastic event, and it carried on doing dinner shows, and then you branched down to the bigger shows. But then I had a bit of an argument with one of the guys at the board, and you're under a lot of restrictions with the British Boxing Board control, weighing restrictions. I know, I don't want to come across, in case they see it, but I'm slagging them off. I'm not slagging them off. But sometimes with people like myself, who hasn't got a TV contract, we sometimes feel like we're a bit of a nuisance, a pest, because they're earning the majority of their money from the Frank Warrens, the Barry Earns, the Eddie Earns, the TV contracts. They seem to get priority. And we ring up and go like, I want to put a show on. And sometimes you get the, okay, like you're an inconvenience.
Yeah.
And, I'm a young fella, got feelings, and certain times, and then there was another thing, we had a thing at a Marriott Hotel in London, and some auction items went missing out of a secure lockup for what a hotel had. We was doing a charity auction. And the fellas come and said to me, and then I turned around, I've had a bit of a hoot on the day. I said, what do you mean they've gone missing? How they gone missing? The place you told was secure. Then there was another, on the same night as well, one of the waitresses spilled some gravy all over a guy's suit. So there was a little bit of after the show, I owe him about $6,000 or something. And, I said, well, we need to have a conversation. Some of the auction items have gone missing. I've had to recompense the fellow with his suit. Let's work something out here. They don't want to listen. They've gone straight to the board and reported me to the board because they know I got a bond. What do you have to put a bond in? And so the board's phoned me up, and now I've got another show planned. And the board's phoned me up. They're going, Joe, you can't go ahead with your other show until you pay the Marriott their money. I said, well, hold up, there's a dispute. I've got lawyers, I've got a solicitor involved in it. It's being sorted out, and they basically said, no, you've got to pay them. And that for me was stuff it. And then a pal of mine was doing the unlicensed stuff, and Ricky English, And he was doing it over Watford. And he's telling me about all the laughs they're having, all the, you know, there's no one on your shoulder telling you got to do this, you got to do that, you know. And because I'd been promoting at Caesar's Nightclub, the professional events, I said, well, let's do an unlicensed one then. And we'd done it, and we had the time of our life, mate. It was just, you know, we had about 20 fights on, and, you know, it was just, you know, some of the fighters, you know, they're hitting each other on the floor, they're rolling about, they're biting each other, they're, you know, falling out the ring, and it was like the Wild West. You know, it was such a good night, and my dad would come, all his mates on the table, and, you know, imagine like a venue. People talk about it now. I mean, Colin Wilby says about it, doesn't he? You know, Colin, he said, you know, on the stage at Caesars, he said, I'm standing, I'm boxing in front of Joe Pyle, Freddie Foreman, Paul Ferris. He said, I'm up there, you know, Tony Lambiano, Boy Shaw. You know, he said, they're all up there watching us, you know what I mean? You know, it was...
No pressure.
No, you know, it was just it was great. You know, it was packing out 1,500-1,600 people in there, some shows. And then, we've done that for a few years.
Did that come with any headaches, any trouble, any danger?
Yeah, well, Caesars was. It was like, you know, nature of the beast in the area, Streatham, you know, Streatham, Brixton area. You know, it's not like putting a show on at Cambridge Roxas, you know. It's
Cotswolds.
Yeah, you know, it's a rough and tough area. You know, there was fights every show, you know. But we were crazy anyway, like some of the things, like, you know, I didn't, at the time, we had one guy, Carlton Leach's mate, and you know, they're all like the West Ham, aren't they? All the Carlton Leach boys, all West Ham, and fighting a Hughie Robinson, who's Millwall. Right? So Carlton's mates come into the ring with all the inner city firm and all this stuff, you know, all the West Ham flags. The other guys come in with all the Millwall stuff. And like, you know, a couple of the guys are saying to me, Joe, it will be an absolute miracle if this don't kick off in here tonight. And I'm like, well, it kicked off last time. You know what I mean? I said, we'll land there. You know, and it did kick off, you know. Once again, it was me and Warren and that Teddy Bam Bam, you know, running over the fence. Come on, lads, don't turn it. Don't do it here. You know, mate, don't do it here, you know. But that was like it all the time. And it was funny, I was giving an interview once and we're standing there and just before the boxing. And all of a sudden, as I'm talking to this fella, we've got a camera and he's just doing like one of these things, you know, like Liam Galvin, who does gangster videos and all this type of stuff, you know.
He collared me a little while ago and interviewed me in Trafalgar Square.
Did he? Yeah, Liam.
Yeah, nice bloke.
Yeah, he used to all our shows, Liam. And then also we're sitting like that, also we have a wallop. So we look round like that on the top, because you had a balcony around Caesars.
Yeah.
Fella's come flying over. He's hit the table. Right from the top balcony, hit the table. The table's gone crash. He's rolled off and just run out the front doors. And I'm carrying on talking like that. And it was Liam. He went, Joe, did you see that? I went, yeah, it happens. You know what I mean? You know, it was just like, yeah, you know, this is Caesar's Streatham. It happens all the time. You know, I wasn't even trying to be funny. It was just natural. My natural reaction to that situation was like, yeah, it happens, you know. Oh, it was mental.
Did anybody ever come for you? Did you make any enemies doing what you were doing at Caesars?
Yeah, a few times, and you know, with people like, you know, we had before. We had a couple of guys flying with machetes once, trying to rob the box office. You know, my auntie Lorraine's on there. You know, and we had that a couple of times. You know, a couple of times people drove past and started shooting the doors, bang, 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 and you know. But some of the stories were crazy there. You know, I remember once, and then we're trying to calm the crowd down. So one day I said, right, I was having a drink and there was a Del Boy, well, I'm in this pub, there's a Del Boy impersonator. So I said, right, mate, why don't you come do my boxing show? She said, what have I got to do? You know what I mean? So I said, when you stand outside the door, I said, when people are queuing up to get in, you got to go, come on, lovely, jubbly boy, in you come. I said, wind them all up. So everyone's turning up. We've got this Del Boy standing outside. You know, we've done, next one we've done with a Queen. We've got a Queen get up. And then, yeah, just some of the crazy things like, I remember once we stand there, like I'm one of the top of the bill. Now this kid, on the last show, he'd sold a lot of tickets. And his opponent bottled out. And so now the show we're on now is the opponent ain't showed up. So that's going to be the second time he's sold tickets to his people and he's not fighting. So I'm like, fuck yeah, what are we going to do? You know what I mean? Gone down the list, all the weights are different. You know, all the weights can't match anyone else up. So me and Vicky's walked outside, we're standing outside, I'm having a fag thinking, what the bloody, what's that excuse going to be now? What are we going to say? Guy's stuck in traffic, what? You know, what are we going to do? Look down like that, it's a fella selling the big issue. Right, so we looked at him and, how much you anyways? Right, so we come down to him.
No way.
Yeah, some Lithuanian fella like that. I went, yeah, mate. So he stood up and I said, do you want to earn yourself £100? You know, well, we come on, you'll do. So we walked him in, you know, walked him into the fight, you know, gloved him up, you know what I mean? He's laughing, the fella. Like, I said, quick, Mitch, go and get him a double vodka. Go and get him a vodka. He's, give him a double vodka. I mean, go on, you'll be all right. And he's laughing, you know. And he's got in there and he started fighting. You know, my mate's not bashed him, you know what I mean, done him. And like Ricky was doing the MCing. And Ricky's like stopped it so the fella didn't get hurt, you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair play.
But, you know, but then Ricky's silly bollocks, what he's gone and done. He said, hey, come on, how about everyone give that man a round of applause? He said, we just got him selling the big issue. And he's just told it like, oh, God, no, what have you done? You know what I mean? But there was, you know, loads of crazy stories.
Who were some of your favourite fighters from Caesars?
Colin. Colin was always entertainment.
Brilliant, wasn't he?
He was always.
He was up for it, weren't he?
He was, you know, there was
explosive.
There was always something going on. You know, kicks or headbutts or something. You know, something was going to go wrong with Colin. But now I'll tell you, you know, we had a guy called Gentleman Jim. They called him. He was a doorman's son, and Jimmy Can, and you had Glenn the Menace Reynolds, who was the local pest out of Sutton. So them two have had a tear up on the door at Sutton, this nightclub. And now they're both going to kill each other. So we got to hear about it. So I said, look, lads, why don't you get in the ring? You know what I mean? It turned up, stabbing people on doors and all that cobblers, you know what I mean? I said, let's get in the ring. So we got them both in the ring, right? And the first fight was, honestly, it was 6 rounds, toe-to-toe. The pair of them just absolutely taking chunks out of each other. And Glenn's trying to be dirty, he's trying to bite him, but and like Gentleman Jim won't be dirty back, but he's moaning to the ref. Then he's hitting him, you know what I mean? It was magic. And then so we've had to give it a draw. Ricky's come out, he said, Joe, would you? I said, who's going to get the win? It was a blinding fight, give it a draw. So we give it a draw. So now we've got a return. So the return, same thing happens again, right? So we give it another draw. So now we've got to decide us. Now we can't have another draw, so we called it last man standing, right? Then we said, right, there's going to be no limit on rounds. It could be 25 rounds, 30 rounds. Whoever wins this fight, whoever wins, is either the other guy gets knocked out or gives up. These two come in 12 rounds, battered buckets out of each other, honestly. Like 2 unlicensed fighters for 12 rounds. And we brought, you remember the lift at Caesars? You used to bring the lift down.
Yeah.
And when we brought them down, you remember that Frankie Goes to Hollywood? They're 2 tribes go to war.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of giving them each a song each, we brought one down on one side of the lift, another down on the other lift, and all us lot standing in the middle to separate them. And the music's blaring, that 2 tribes, you know what I mean? So they walked to the ring at the same time. You know?
That's quality.
And it got to 10 rounds, and I walked over to Rick. I said, they're going to kill each other. And I said, what do you want? 2 more rounds, Rick? And Ricky went like, yeah. I went round the trainers and I went to him, like, listen, 2 more rounds, that's it, and the fight's over. And then done it. It went to 12 rounds. And then all of a sudden, I pulled a couple of guys up. I said, I'm not scoring it. And there was a couple of guys at ringside, a couple of boxers. I said, how do you want to score it? And we asked about 4 or 5 fellas. And they give it to Glenn the Menace. And Jimmy hates it to this day.
I bet he does.
Oh, yeah, it's a funny story, I'll tell you in a minute. I've just done that bit in Wandsworth. Jimmy's a screw in there now.
Elaborate on that.
When he shows you the ups and downs of being my name, right, it's just clear that. You know, some people, oh, yeah, buddy, you know, it's, you know, my union failed because of my name. You know, once people, you know, straight away, when we're signing up other security businesses and also people in the security business are going like, well, do we really want Joey Pyle involved here with all these cronies and all these dad's mates and all that? Because once you get them involved in the security company, we'll never get the security company back. Complete cobblers, but that's how people talk. So I lost. I got voted off the board of my own union because they said, I think it'd be best, Joe, not to have Joey Pyle fronting the thing. When I got voted off, the union lasted about 6 weeks and it folded because I was passionate about it. But the same thing like with this prison thing. A couple of years ago, one of the guys we do some work with, we got a meeting with him, sitting down, we're talking about a bit of business, a bit of thing. He's saying, I might have some work for you, Joe. And he's asked me if I know this fella. So I said, no, what's the matter? So he tells me about this guy, they'd done this bit of work. This guy ripped everyone off on the job. He ripped everyone off. Didn't want to pay a penny. But he suckered him in, like typical, arsehole scammer. Suckered him in and, the guy was a great talker and everything. Pulled him in, give him a little bit of money, got him more involved, a little bit of money. And also my mate's right over his head, he's having to pay all his staff wages and everything else. Then this guy finds out that this guy's got some property as well. He's ended up losing that as well because the guys who give him the loan then called the loan in and was going to take back the properties unless they got paid 70 grand back. So I said, I'll make a few inquiries. And then I'm bumping into my mate again. He's like, I've got his number here, Joe. So I said, well, do you want me to ring him up? So I ring the guy up. I say to him, I don't tell him my name. I say, hello, mate, I'm a friend of so-and-so. We're doing some business with him at the moment. There's a few things I want to clear up with you. Is any chance we can have a meeting with you, mate? So, who are you? I said, it's just a business meeting, mate. Look, come, bring who you want to come. You choose the venue, you choose the place, you choose the time, we'll come and see you. You know what I mean? The guy chooses the time, he chooses the place, he chooses everything. Starbucks, 11 o'clock, just down the road where he lives. We turn up, have a conversation with him. Basically, tell him, mate, you took the piss, took the liberty. You owed the guy the money, you know what I mean? What do you want to do? Even offered him a payment plan. I said, do you want to put a payment plan into place and all this? So, roundabout we go, he says he's got to go away, see what he can do. So in the space of 4 weeks, we phone him 4 times. So what happens is he's trying to ring us now about 20 times. Don't stop ringing. And he keeps going, I'm bankrupt. I've got no money. What's that got to do with anything, mate? You know what I mean? You owe this man the money. You know what I mean? You took the piss out of him, you pay him the money back. Anyway, cut a long story short, 4 weeks after that, I'm laying in bed 5:30 in the morning. 25-year-old Bill smashed the door in, all dressed in boiler suits and crash helmets. They come running in the house, drag me out of bed. I'm nicked for conspiracy to blackmail. I'm like, blackmail? What? In my mind, blackmail is I don't know, someone's got some pictures of you or something. Or, do you know what I mean?
Having an affair.
Yeah, or something like that. Not someone who owes some money and you're asking him to pay the bleeding money back. How's that blackmail?
How many of you were arrested?
4 of us. All they got on me is basically when the guys phoned in what they spoke, he's put the phone down and phoned me. The solicitor said, they've got nothing, Joe. Straight away, all the police are refusing to give their names, right, their badge numbers, right, for fear of their lives. But they've turned around and said, we have just arrested a major international criminal organisation. Right, there's me, Warren, who's an electrician, Matt, who's a builder, and Chris, who's a roofer. Right, so there's the 4. You know what I mean? And me, the company director of a painting decorating firm, if you like. So here's the major international organised crime gang. Right, what the police are refusing to give their names to.
This is because of the name Joe Pyle.
Yeah, they said if my name would have been something else, we'd have got bail.
What was the complete accusation? I know it's blackmail, but what was you supposed to have been blackmailing this person with?
Threats to kill. What we don't know, he's being looked into for £23 million worth of mortgage fraud at the time. He's already involved with the old bill. So when we've come to see him, we don't know this is going on. He's gone to his old bill he's involved with, said, I've just been threatened. But there's no proof he's been threatened, just his word. And he said, these people said they're going to kill my family, they're going to kill my wife and kids. Right, so the old bill's gone overboard. The old bill's turned around, they put threats to kill on him. They moved him and his family out of the house. This a man, with £23 million worth of fraud he's wanted for. Moved him out of the house, and now he's got a free house. Staying. They went to his brother, said there's threats to kill on his brother. They went to the school and told the school. Right, all he's done is ask a guy to meet us at Starbucks at 11 o'clock in the day, and let him go, if you like. You know, maybe I kidnapped him. You know what I mean?
So what was the charge? Demanding money with menace?
No, it was full blown blackmail. Like, it was full blown blackmail. Carries 14 years. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, they can't make blackmail stand. It don't stand.
So then they remanded you in Wandsworth?
Yeah. when they're showing us the evidence they're going to use, in some of the evidence, there's a story in my book about me and Lenny Mclean going on a debt in 1992, right? So they're even trying to throw that in. They're trying to throw in all this stuff about my dad, everything. It's an application of pressure. This is what they do, the old bill, right? They got nothing, and they kept giving us more and more stuff to get us to go guilty. They pressurise you to go guilty. Right, and we weren't having none of that. So we're going to go, she said, I said, what am I going to go guilty for? What have I done? What have I done? I said, bar turning up with a box of chocolates and some flowers, I couldn't have been more friendly to the fella. Mm. Do you know what I mean? I said, I would have been better off eating him on the nose and breaking his nose, and I'd have probably been out on bail that night. Mm. So what have we done? So we're banged up. By the time it gets to court, it's unbelievable. 5-week trial. And now they put this guy in the box. The first thing he does when he walks in there, he turns around and goes, I'm a recovering cocaine addict. And part of my therapy, I went in and confessed my crimes to £23 million worth of fraud. Right? So the juries look at him like, why are they in here? Do you know what I mean? Right? So he's sitting like that. So he said, yeah, as part of my therapy, I confessed to the crime. And then he's going on about us. Now we've got all this information on him as well, some of the information, right? Now get this, what the old bill said to him. The old bill gave him a recording device, right, to phone us. So then 4 phone calls when we phoned him, it was what the old bill gave him, a recording device. 3 weeks afterwards, after he'd been ringing us, and we spoke to him, we only called him 3 times in the space of a month. He called us about 20 times with his little recording device. The old Bill's turned around and gone, there's not enough evidence to arrest us of a crime yet. They can't arrest us of any crime. So they told him to stop saying he can't pay us, he hasn't got the money, and start telling us he's not going to pay us. So they're trying to create a crime here, do you know what I mean? Mm. But our reply stayed the same. So, and it's the corruption of the way, and it's funny as well because, he stood there and it was funny when he turned around and went about he's confessing his crimes.
So that was his preemptive strike?
Yeah, quite clear, isn't it, why he's setting us and lying about us because he's trying to do a deal on his £23 million thing. So now he's walked in and cooperated on this date, but when we got nicked, they told him to come back for a second interview. The second interview, he's gone back in there and they've gone to him, started asking questions, he's got no comment. Right, so he's got to confess his crimes, and when they've asked him a question, there's no comment. Do you know what I mean? It's like going to a priest, isn't it? A priest, forgive me, Father, I have sinned. What have you done, Joseph? No comment. Yeah. Right? Do you know what I mean? So so it's blatant what he's done. We found out he's threatening people who owe him money. He's threatening some fellow, and he said, "I'm coming, man, to shoot you with the boys." And we're sitting like, why ain't he nicked? What have we done? We ain't done nothing like that. Nothing at all. And but how they try to just put you away for something.
And you think that's because of your name?
Yeah.
Well, it makes a great headline, doesn't it?
And the old bill as well. What they told us, they said they was actually doing handstands. They were doing high fives when we first got nicked. They really thought, I'm not kidding you. When we was nicked and we were trying to get bail, they mentioned Escobar, they mentioned Mafia, they mentioned, we're just sitting there like, mate, bloody hell, all the pictures you got of me is drawn back in my work van.
And how long were you remanded for before the trial took place?
6 months to the day.
So they give you the full term.
Yeah. And
how long did the trial last?
5-week trial. It was ridiculous. Our biggest asset was him, the fella. He's literally gone in there. He's turned up in an Armani suit. We're questioning him about everyone he owes money to. And they get one thing they took him and he goes like back to 70 grand, what I was talking about before. And he went, yeah, that was nothing to do with me. And they went, you sure? Nothing to do with you? So I went, okay. He went, no, that was between Matt and the people who loaned the money. That was nothing to do with me, the 70 grand. So I went, okay. So next morning, remember yesterday you said it was nothing to do with you? He went, yep. Would you like to read them emails? Right, so the fella's going like, probably, he's behind a screen now, so we can't even see him. Right? They give it all, do you know what I mean, to try and make it.
But he hid behind the screen.
Yeah, right. He's behind the screen, the dog, and I could see the jury's faces going like that. You know, so going, read this line where it turns around and you saying, you said this is nothing to do with you, and this is you talking to the people what loaned him the money. Matt is a broken man. We've got him just where we want him. I reckon we can push him to £70,000 to get his houses back. What a dog. And on the next email, what do? You message Matt and go, Matt, I'm really sorry about this, mate. I've tried everything I can, but they're playing hardball with you. I reckon you can get out of this for 70 grand. What a dog. Do you know what I mean?
He needs to go to jail because he's wasted everyone's time and he thinks that he can bring everybody into his game and manipulate everyone, including the police, doesn't he?
It gets worse, mate. He threatened someone in protective custody, right? And he owes someone some money and a fella takes out a civil case on him. So he sends this guy an email while he's in protective custody, and on the email it says, I have just put the head of a major South London organised crime family in prison who's going to get 14 years. I suggest you think very carefully about pursuing any money from me. You've got 48 hours to make your mind up. The police are working with me and the police are doing anything I want them to do. He's put it on email.
He's a full-blown narcissist, isn't he?
Right? That's blackmail. That is blackmail. And when they're reading out, the old Bill's sitting like that. And the old Bill's sitting, and I'm looking at him like that going, what am I doing here? Under your noses, he's weaponised the police and using the judicial system as a tool to rob people.
And by their own rules, they should be arresting him on the spot.
Yeah. You know, he's just unbelievable. Like, you know, and they come back and give the not guilty.
Was there any time during that trial you thought, I could end up going to jail for 14 years here?
Yeah, definitely. It was suffocating, I'm telling you something. It was on the going up to it, it was like, you know, my co-Ds and that, they're seeing their barristers and legal team visits, and they're all going there going, Joe's in a lot of trouble here. There's going to be more charges on Joe. And it was a slow, what I call it, application of pressure.
Yes, you must have breathed a great big sigh of relief when you was found not guilty. But now that you're out and about and a free man and you're running a legitimate business, are you still worried that the police could be trying to target you to put you in jail so they can get the headline, Joe Pyle guilty?
Yeah, well, I was running a straight business then. You know, and they had my phone for 6 months. I had 3 phones. And there weren't one bit of criminality in any of them phones.
Do you think they'll give up on you now, or do you think they'll still be looking?
Do you know the money they spent? You know, you're talking millions what they spent on that last case. You know, you're talking about, you know, how much it costs to keep someone in jail for one night. You're talking about 5-week trial. You're talking about, there's a lot of money, a lot of money. You know, I'd like to think they do, but you know, people say the old Bill got long memories. I think they jumped in so far with it, and they couldn't admit they was wrong. But like everyone in Wandsworth, everyone saying, you guys shouldn't be in it. All the screws, you know what I mean? They're all like, you know, why are you like there for what? You know, did you beat the guy up? No. You know, what did you do? You know, ask him to come and have a cup of coffee with us at Starbucks.
This is slightly off topic, but when you was in Wandsworth jail, was you aware of the inmates in there having sex with a female screws?
Yeah, a couple of things happened in there with not sex, but sex acts. I know there was a couple of fellas told me that happened.
I mean, what in God's name was she thinking?
It's a funny story, isn't it, how it all panned out. But I know the whole Nick went into massive lockdown. A couple of people told me, they said, you know, they had a purge on mobile phones, on everything, you know. Every now and again, they'll just raid everyone. Because they know everyone's in there, got phones, they know everyone's in there, got spies. You know, fags, anything, you know what I mean, in there. But they're so short-staffed in there. You know, I remember one day, you know, some days you don't get banged, you don't get let out yourself for 3-4 days.
Well, it is a question. If there was a prison trip advisor, how would you rate Wandsworth Jail?
That's the worst nick in the country, hands down. It's absolutely. You know, I think it's one of the biggest nicks in the country. There's about 1,600 people in there. There's not enough staff. The staff, when they do open up, half of them ain't got a clue what they're doing. It's fights every day. You might the cold showers. The water's never working there. It never ever works. Rats everywhere. Some nights you'd hear the dogs out in the yard hunting rats, and they wouldn't even bother picking the rats up. So the next day you go out to exercise, there's like 20 dead rats, all ripped to pieces all round. You got to tread over them. You know what I mean? My cellmate made me laugh. Bless him, little Dave. They put me because I refused to be banged up with anyone. And then, when the first person got put in was some Somalian nutcase. He was all right though. He was younger than me. One of these street gang kids. He used to call me uncle. And he was a nice kid, to tell the truth, little Rudy. And then I got moved to another wing. And then all of a sudden they moved this other fella in, and he was homeless. I've got to remember all the things. Homeless, schizophrenic, drunk, drug addict. When he first come in, he was infested with lice. And in the cell before me, he set fire to it at night trying to kill his cellmate. So this is the guy they put in my cell. Do you know what I mean?
How did you hit it off?
Oh, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning and they've opened the door up. I said, what the are you doing? I said, I've got to be up in the morning, 7 o'clock, I work in the kitchens. You got a new cellmate. So I mean, mate, you ain't turned the light on. So he's got in the bed and he's dead. I got up in the morning. No, I ain't even said hello to him. I've got all my stuff, all my papers, all my papers for my case. He could be planted, couldn't he, for all I know, go through all my paperwork. So I looked at him, I said, right, I'll be back at about 12 o'clock. I said, just look up. I said, listen, if you use the toilet, don't piss all over the floor and all over the seat and all that, you know what I mean? Come back. But he never moved till I got back the same day, 12 o'clock, and he's just sitting there talking to himself. Just sitting up there like little birds sits on the thing. But I end up, I got a war with my brother. He was opposite me, in the cell opposite me. And I said, I can't have him up there like this. So all his hair's down here. So I went and got him a new tracksuit with one of the lads upstairs. I said, right, I got over to the barber there, Jack. I said, right, give him a proper haircut. I said, I've got a couple of cans of hot dogs in the cell, you can have them. And, I was in the warm, I take him down the showers and bath him, wash him properly in the shower. And I've come back the next day, he looks brand new, he's had all the haircut, he's had all the new tracksuit on. and he was all right though, because, all he wanted to do was sit on the bunk. Because sometimes you get banged up with someone and he wants to watch some TV programme, you want to watch something, you know what I mean? You've only got one telly. But this fella, he's just sit up there, right? Just talk to himself, And
it don't take much to fall out in jail, does it? For it to erupt?
No, it's easy,
Now that you're a free man then.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that you are as well, because that sounds like the ultimate fit up, and it weren't even discreet, weren't even subtle. That was madness. So what happened to the guy that made those false allegations?
I should imagine he's got nicked. But, he probably, I don't know whether, because he was giving evidence on our case, the investigation he had with the serious fraud squad.
Yeah.
That case was basically falling apart because the old Bill was using him on us. So, but we know he clammed up.
Yeah, if that whole thing hasn't completely backfired on him monumentally, I'll be surprised. Mm-hmm. And for you now, what does the future hold?
It's just build our companies up. We got, like I say, we got the home decor and stuff. Like we do a lot, but we do refurbishments. We do everything on that. A couple of exciting projects come up. Like I said, we've got the publishing company, but I ain't really done too much of it. It's me and Will Francis from up there at Birmingham, and another guy, Toto Rena's son, Salvo. He was, they called him the Capo di Tutti Capi of Sicily when it Corleone. But his boy, he's just got out of prison. He's done a couple of books, and we signed him up to the publishing company. We got a couple of things. We're working on platforms, on internet stuff, and that could be quite exciting. Similar to what Andrew Tate does. He's got that academy where people pay money, subscriptions and months online and that. We're in talks with a couple of big businesses at the moment. I can't really say too much about it. I can only say that much because obviously it's something what we got doing until we've got all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. You know, I can't really push it out too much.
But the future's certainly looking a lot brighter than Wandsworth.
God, yeah. Well, we're all off to Thailand, hopefully, as well. So we're going to go out and do some training.
Nice.
Get some training out there, or, you know, I might do a bit of travelling.
And did I hear you say in the green room that you or your daughter are going to start a podcast?
Yes, my daughter, Honey, she wants to do the podcast. And she's a good tattooist as well at the moment, so if anyone wants a tattoo. You know, but she's eager to get into it, so, you know, we'll help her as much as what we can.
Well, anything you need from me, any advice, because I could probably save you 6 months in trial and error, and I could probably save you a few quid on where to go for equipment and bits and pieces, because it is not a cheap setup. And as you've been so hospitable today, and I've really appreciated you sharing and trusting me with your story. I know we got deep in some parts, so you have my word that should you need any advice or any guidance as to help you grow your podcast, then
beautiful.
Give me a call.
I appreciate that, Liam.
Joe?
Nice one.
I really enjoyed that, man.